Yo, what's up guys? You got me here, and today we are bringing you the draft analysis for the NPL Minors Season 5, I believe. So yeah, I'll be talking about what I drafted and why I drafted it, and I know Illusion has already posted his draft analysis, so I think it's high in time, that I post mine. So first off, I was, I believe, like around number 10 in the draft pick, so I didn't get options to get the best ones, so I decided to choose Manaphy over here. So Manaphy gets, as most of you know, gets access to things like Tail Glow, Surf, Scald, gets access to a bunch of awesome stuff. Its coverage is pretty much amazing. Psychic even, as you know, it pretty much has base stats going 100 all around, so you can run it a lot of different sets with it, which is one of the main reasons why I decided to get it. Also, it gets access to the knockoff, which could definitely help me out in the long run. I did not choose this one as my Zmon. It was point based, so you'll see in a minute which ones I did decide to choose, but I figured most of the time I'd be running Manaphy more defensively or some type of crazy set or variant that would throw people off, as opposed to like Z-Rain Dance and things like that. So pretty self-explanatory why I decided to grab Manaphy here. It also pretty much fits together a team. It's like the glue that holds the team together. So one of the reasons I decided to draft it. But yeah, next up I decided to get Latios. Now Latios is actually fantastic. So I decided to use this as one of my Zmons. And Latios can do a number of things. It can Dragon Dance up, it can drop a Draco, it can Dragon Breath, namely it can use dragon moves and things like that. Great stab and Side Shock on Psychic, gets access to Calm Mind, and it gets access to Recovery, along with a bunch of other coverage moves like Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. So one of the main reasons I decided to draft it. Also gives me a Defogger, Earthquake, Grass Knot, etc., etc. Great coverage like Manaphy. Latios, I figured, could do a bit more for me versatility-wise than Manaphy could. And of course, it has that speed stat where it hits 350, base 110 speed, so not bad at all. Could run as a Scarfer, could do a number of things with it, which is one of the main reasons I decided to draft it. Now, next up, I decided, you know what, I want something that, beats fast electric types, or at least scares them out, so Manaphy can put in more work. So I decided to pick up the Dugtrio. Now, for those of you who don't know what Dugtrio does, it basically traps things and gets a kill. So yeah, amazing speed in base 120. Got an attack buff this generation, so it got moved up to 100. Gets stuff like Earthquake, Memento, Stealth Rock, so gives me a very fast ground type that could definitely come in handy. And the thing about Dugtrio, main reason why I drafted it was because it forces your opponent to prep for it. And if your opponent doesn't prep for it, well, then they're in for a rude awakening. So that's the main reason I decided to get Dugtrio. Also, at this point in the draft, I was already had my Mega in mind, which was Mega Aerodactyl, and I wanted something that could trap bulky steals, weaken that a bit for arrow, and also trap, as I said before, fast electric types, so, or any electric type in general. So Aerodactyl can do just a bit more, and yeah, that's why I decided to draft that. So next up, as I said before, Mega Aerodactyl. Very fun thing I used in the end of the Hive season last season. Speed stat is fantastic. 150 speed, one of the fastest mons in the game. 135 attack, 70 special attack, which isn't bad at all, and then decent defenses and HP all around. Now, Aerodactyl gets access to a bunch of moves. It gets access to Stealth Rocks, Defog, Stone Edge, Aerial Ace. Obviously, not the best flying type move, but I digress. Lots of coverage moves on Aerodactyl's part, and the main reason I wanted to get it was because I think it fits my playstyle a lot, and that I like to bring stuff that's not necessarily standard, but that can get surprise your opponent and get them off guard. So that's the main reason I decided to draft Connecticut Aerodactyl over here. So next up, I also wanted an electric type, and I also need a fire type. So I had to get Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat, very good wall if I want to use it as such. Also decent Scarper, good stats all around besides the HP and attack. Other than that, it can do pretty much a wide range of things. It gets access to a bunch of status moves, can Volt Switch out, Overheat, and now it can defog too, so that gives me another hazard removal as well. And I apologize if I'm moving through this fairly fast. I have some things I need to do later on in like 10 minutes or so, so please forgive me for that. It also gets access to like Discharge and Foul Play and Hex, and yeah, you know, I can definitely see myself bringing some Wax Set to catch people off guard. So yeah, that's the reason I decided to bring the Rotom Heat. So next up, you know, you gotta represent my team somehow. Connecticut Cobalions coming back with the Cobalion pick. Now, I've always liked Cobalion. I've always felt like, you know, like everything else on my team, it has a variety of options you can bring with it, like a Calm Mindset, even Magnet Rise, and then of course the Swords Dance set, Stealth Rock even also gives me another rocker, gives me a Steel type and a Fighting type, which I definitely wanted at this point in the draft. Also gets access to Volt Switch, so if I wanted to use that as momentum, that could work as well. But yeah, you know, Cobalion can do a bunch of things, and you know, I've always had a thing for this mon, so you know, I said, you know what, might as well pick up the mascot. So you got Cobalion here, and yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. So next up, I decided to choose the Alolan Ninetales. Now, in hindsight, this may not have been the best pick for me, but at this point in the draft, I wanted something like Screens or Aurora Veil for setup Manaphy. So, and also wanted an Ice and a Fairy type. So I decided to pick up this. This one's also one of my other Zmons. Good thing about this is it forces people to prep for it pretty much always. If they don't, they could easily get blown back by something else on my team. So yeah, that's pretty much the reason I wanted to get it. Also gets access to Nasty Plot, and can definitely pick up some surprise KOs maybe if I run like an offensive variant or something of that nature. Decent speed stat, decent Spadef. Other stats are left pretty lacking, but it does give me Hail if I so choose to bring it to cancel out other weather users. So yeah, we'll see how this works. It could work for me and it could not, I don't know. I guess we'll see throughout the season. So next up, I decided to bring Donphan. Now, I didn't really want Dugtrio as my only ground type, I didn't want it as my only ground type. I wanted something else bulky, and I wanted another way to remove hazards other than defog. So I decided to pick up Donphan. And Donphan is, most people know what Donphan does. There's not too much that can catch people by surprise, but maybe I'll come up with a way, you know, maybe I'll bring Rock Polish one week, right? You know, set up a sweep with Donphan. Also gets access to rocks, which is helpful. Earthquake, obviously, Ice Shard gives me a bit of priority on that front, and then of course the Sturdy to help live hits gives me a better defensive mon, I guess, in terms of bulk. Cobalion can be bulky at times, but Donphan is just a bit better, and you know, it also helps me stop fast electric types that can maybe outspeed Dugtrio, like, I don't know, like Tapu Koko or something like along those lines. But yeah, that's the main reason I decided to draft Donphan. Next up, I decided to pick was Sneasel. Now, I had Nice Tape on my team and Ninetales already, but I wanted a strong knockoff user and I wanted a dark type. Now, Sneasel can definitely help me out through games. I think this mon's actually very underrated, and I'm planning on proving it so. So Sneasel gets access to things like Ice Punch, Icicle Crash. I'm sorry, I don't know why I blanked out and thought I didn't get it. Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, knockoff. Obviously, Pursuit. I want a good Pursuit Trapper as well. Sneasel can fulfill that role fairly decently. Not much can be said. This is basically just a weaker version of Weavile, but nonetheless, it does its job well, and I intend to prove that. So next up, I have the Trevenant. Now, Trevenant was... it was an interesting pick for me. Normally, I wouldn't draft something like Trevenant, but at this point, I wanted a Ghost type. And I also wanted a Grass type to fulfill my Water, Fire, Grass core. I don't necessarily need that part, but I wanted it. But most importantly, I want a Ghost type and I want a spin blocker. And Trevenant can definitely be annoying if your opponent does not have things on his team to prepare for it. So Trevenant has fair stats all around. Nothing too exceptional or anything like that. But it does have a fairly decent bulky set in a way with the harvest. So let's say I have like Citrus Berry and I have like Sub or something like the standard Trevenant set. I guess I could bring that and definitely annoy my opponents if they were not prepared for it. But yeah, that's why I decided to bring, not bring, sorry, it's been a long day. That's why I decided to choose Trevenant, and hopefully it can definitely put in work. So next up I have Lanoon, and I'm not disappointed about Lanoon at all. When I drafted Ninetales, I was fairly certain I wanted to get Lanoon as well. As I said, if people do not prep for the Aurora Veil, then they may get blown back by something like Gluttony, Belly Drum, Lanoon, which is definitely something teams need to be wary of. It can definitely blow back teams. Now, it gets Stomping Tantrum, it gets Seed Bomb for bulky water ground types, Extreme Speed, obviously. It just gets a plethora of moves that could definitely catch someone by surprise if they are not prepared for it. And honestly, I'm hoping someone doesn't prepare for it because I want a chance to prove that Lanoon can definitely do something, and I'm hoping it will. So next up is... So at this point in the draft, I was faltering in my mindset. So I wanted something that could give me a Spiker and a Toxic Spiker, and for some reason Venipede just completely escaped my mind. So Venipede, if you don't know, is I believe the pre-evolution to this, but it does its job a lot better. It's faster for one, and basically it works better as a Sash Endeavor lead set as opposed to Whirlpeed, which is more bulky in nature. Like, look, it is 47 speed and a speed boost. Like, that's not even going to boost you that much, but I guess with an Eevee, it can take some hits. Definitely kind of regret this choice. May look to drop it in the future. But yeah, the reason I decided to pick it up at the time, I wanted Toxic Spikes, I wanted Spikes, and that's pretty much all this thing does. Yeah, there's not much else to say for this. Venipede would have definitely been the better choice. But yeah, that's my draft analysis for NPL Minors Season 5. And stay tuned for more matches, and thanks for watching.